Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope that you all are doing well. So this is actually a special day for me because this day, September 23rd, is the Feast of Mielikki. And Mielikki is my patron goddess. So I thought that we could just spend a few minutes tonight talking about how to have a feast, how to celebrate, honor your patron deities. So, first off, Mielikki was the creator of the bear in the Finnish tradition. So, I actually identified that the bear was my totem at the very beginning of my spiritual path, and that sort of then led me to Mielikki. And so she is the creator of the bear, but she is also she's called the Mistress of the forest. And she is also, so that means that she is the protector of all of the animals in the forest. And if you were a hunter in ancient times, you would give offerings to her when you entered the forest in order for you to have a successful hunt, or else you would not have one. She also was the goddess of the fields, and so that's why I have some of the breads here, because, you know, this is the day after the autumn equinox and the harvesting of the grains. And she was also a healer. So she heals wounded animals and also humans if they ask. So the Finns were originally they're very ancient culture, and they originally were a bear cult, which you know me, I've said this before, I don't like the term cult because it makes you think that they're all drinking the Kool-Aid and everything like that. Basically what that meant is that before they honored and worshipped humanoid deities, they honored certain animals. So for the Finns, the bear was their tribe totem, I guess you could say. And they would give thanks to the bear. Even though they would hunt the bear, they would use every single part of the bear, and they also would only do so if that was all that they had, because they would usually hunt other things like reindeer and caribou and rabbits and other things that were in the forest. Their culture is revolving around woods and forests. That's what the landscape is like there. And so you definitely had to give honor to everything that was of the forest there. So when this is not for everybody to jump on the Mielikki train unless you want to. I'm sure she wouldn't mind, but this is for you to just sort of understand if you're just beginning on your path and you've really sort of connected with a certain god or goddess, or even certain ancestors or anything like that, finding out if they have a feast day or a day of celebration or something like that. And then you can just make sure to honor them on that day. So the things that I have here, you know, I have obviously some food. I also have the bear. I even have honey water, because that's also part of the bear, right? In the Kalevala, so this is the Finnish mythology. It is very lengthy, but it is an amazing tale. I've actually taught it a couple of times in my graduate mythology classes without them knowing that it was a spiritual book for me. But it was it goes through, it's an amazing text because it is they would tell stories with two storytellers at the same time. And so the one, they were called the folk tellers. And one would say something and then the other one would repeat it or say it in a different manner. And so it was sort of like a partnership of how they would tell the stories. So when you're reading through it, that's why it seems like that it's very repetitive of, oh my gosh, why do they keep saying, in a different way? Why do they keep saying it? It's because of how they used to tell the stories back then. Hi, Hamish. Hamish is here to celebrate with us. So there's also a lot of interesting magical charms throughout this poem. And they call them poems, even though it's in a huge, huge text. But these magical charms, things like that would be to, how to cure things. Now, I'm not saying that you should not forego going to the hospital when they're talking about, like if you get sliced open or something like that, you might want to just go to the hospital. But, it's just really fascinating to see their perspective on their different magics. The difference between the Finns and a lot of the other cultures up in Northern Europe, such as the Norse, the Swedes, they were very much a fighting culture, whereas with the Finns, it wasn't necessarily fighting that they really found as important as magic. Magic was the most important thing to the Finns, and that's really prevalent throughout this entire story. Venemoinen is the central, I guess you could say, hero, but he's not like going around killing everybody like in what we would consider as a hero. But he was the one he was the magic man. He had the most magic, and there was magic boats and magic bows and everything was magic. And but even the animals would do certain things. The trees would awaken and fight. So I think that's maybe where Tolkien got the idea of the Ents. There's just so many different amazing things throughout this entire story, so I'm not going to obviously read any of it. I'll just read one little section here that is specifically about Mielikki. So as I was saying, she was the creator of the bear, and as they were a bear cult, the bear is prevalent throughout this entire story, and they talk about how she actually created the bear. And they often have different words for the deities or the animals or whatever. So oftentimes they would call the bear Honey Paws throughout the story. So if you're ever reading it and you see Honey Paw, then they're talking about the bear. But they call her Darling throughout the story. She's Darling, although, she's a huntress, so I don't see how, you would see her as anything like some little fluffy thing. But Darling, Mistress of the Forest, uttered these words: I would form claws for it, to try to find teeth too, if it could not get into wrongdoings, not take to evil deeds. Accordingly, the bear swore an oath on the knees of the Mistress of the Forest in the presence of illustrious God, looking up at the face of the Almighty, to do no evil, being no bad deeds. Darling Mistress of the Forest, keen-eyed wife of Tapio's domain, set out to search for a tooth to inquire. And so she goes on, and after she had created the bear, then she gave him teeth and claws. So that was really nice of her. Now, you may wonder, why are they talking about God Almighty? Okay, so the Finns were the last tribe in the northern tribes to become Christianized. And so this story, it was written down in the 19th century. But, of course, as with all of the ancient stories, if it is written down by the people that have taken over or whatever, then they're going to stick in their own interpretations. But we have Uka, which is the sun or the sky god, and Mielikki and her consort is Tapio. They are the lord and lady of the forest. So, you can just, the more you put into a feast or a celebration or something like that, the more you're giving them honor, the more you are putting yourself into their space. And now, I do not have some of the very traditional Finnish foods. I tried. I couldn't find any reindeer in Denver. That is one of the ingredients in a lot of their dishes. They do have a lot of breads, a lot of rye, things like that. I did find, by the way, I did find a very interesting European market here in the northern metro area. If you are in the area, I could give you the specifics. It's a hole in the wall. It's hard to find, but it was really amazing. It's Eastern Europe, though. So the lovely gentleman is from Bulgaria, and so we had a nice little chat, and I found some really amazing Turkish foods and things like that. But that is not Finnish. So unfortunately, I could not find specifically Finnish foods for this evening, but I did try my best. And that's really the most important thing, is trying as best you can to attain anything that you can that is of their culture. Right. Now, the Finns, that is not my heritage. My heritage is mostly German. And it's also the British Isles. So Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. That's all of my background there. So I don't even have any family recipes for making any of this stuff. But that's one of the things I'm wanting to emphasize, is that it doesn't necessarily have to be from your own cultural background. That, I was just very drawn from the very beginning to Mielikki. And so, this is just where we have gotten to. Another thing that you can do is just having a piece of jewelry. So like this necklace. So her stone is the garnet, which is fantastic because that's my birthstone and I love garnet anyway. So I have a necklace that I wear whenever I am doing workings with her, to just channel more energy from her. And I only wear it when I am needing her energy, or if I'm doing ritual with her. So that's another thing that you can do as far as just tapping into your patron deities, is to just have something that is designated for them alone. Okay. There's also, this is back from 99, but there's a Finnish magic book that is really interesting, although I'm not trying to be judgy, but it doesn't even bring up Mielikki's Feast in this book. But that's okay. It has some really interesting little rituals that you can do, and he has all of the different sacred talisman and sacred symbols and things like that you can utilize in your magic. So once again, I'm not saying that you need to all go out and start doing Finnish magic, but it's, as I was saying a couple of weeks ago in one of my videos, that, now is the time to really just putting a little bit more effort into our rituals, into our, the deities that we worship, the energies that we work with, and just really, having a good time with it, because it shouldn't feel like it's work. And that's something else that I really want to emphasize. If it feels like work, if you don't feel like doing it, then maybe that's not the path for you. Okay, you should be excited to, go out. I just was so excited to even just get flowers and things like that, just specifically for this feast. And my daughter and I have already been tapping into the food. But it's just, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're not feeling called to it, then don't do it. Okay. I don't think that anybody should honestly do any type of energy work or ritual or anything like that if you do not feel that it is worth your time or interesting or resonating with you. It should only be coming from your heart, and if it's something that you really are drawn to, then do it. But if you're not, then don't. Because I don't know, one of the things that I really was dissuaded by concerning church itself was that I felt that I had to go, whereas with these rituals, it's something that I want to do. And that's not knocking anybody's anything. Okay. I'm just saying that religion and spirituality should not be something that you feel you have to do. Okay. So I think that that's pretty much it. let's see, the creator of the bear and the bear cults and all that stuff. So, if you have any questions about, maybe some things that you want to do for your own rituals, you can always ask me. I mean, it may not be my pantheon that I work with usually, but I can absolutely help people to create their own rituals if they can't find anything. Or how do you work with a so and so deity? So it's really important to just do that little bit extra and have little altars. I mean, I have an entire altar class that we talk about how to create your altars and, what you should and shouldn't put on there and things like that. So these all are just really important to our own sense of self, our own spiritual self, right? I hope that you all have a good evening, and I know I am with all of this good food here. And I will look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.